What's going on, everybody? Corey here, and today's video I wanted to talk a little bit about palming. This is a video that I've tried to make a few times, and I just keep not posting it. I'm not happy with how it's turned out, and then didn't really know if it would be of benefit to anyone. And it's just been recently that I've been seeing more and more people asking about palming, and yeah, just kind of different ways to conceal. So a lot of times when you hear people worried about palming, it's because of their hand size being too small, having their little windows between their fingers. And obviously, looking at my hand, you can see that's not a problem. So here is a playing card. Here is my hand. But the thing is when we're reading or seeing people palm in videos or in books, we are only seeing what works for them. And I think that's an important thing to take away from that. Because if you look at how palms are described in like the Royal Road, and even Card College, like it's made for someone with just kind of a normal hand. It doesn't take into account if you have smaller hands, if you have skinny fingers, if you have larger hands. So like the way it's written up is you hold the card one corner here in the pinky and the other corner here at the base of the thumb. For me, that is not going to work, obviously. So I have to adjust. And some people are very, I don't know the best way to word it, but some people are very like, this is what it says to do, so this is how I'm going to do it. And then when it doesn't work, when a move doesn't work for them in that way, it's, oh, I can't do it, or, oh, this isn't something for me. So for me, when I palm, like you'll see, I have to hold it in weird ways, but learning how to make adjustments based off of my hands has helped me in being really big into the exercise of switching things up. So yeah, I can hold it with my pinky and hold it just like this, and if we're sitting here talking, having a conversation, it's fine. But I can switch it to my ring finger, I can switch it to my pointer finger, or my middle finger, my pointer finger. From that, I can pull it in and go into kind of like a Tenkai. So there's a lot of things that I can do as a result of having to learn how to palm. It's kind of, so like if I'm getting into a palm from a deck and I'm going into this position, I am able to move it around however I need it. The other thing when you're palming is if you have windows, so like I have big meaty fingers. I don't have windows between my fingers. But get to know those. What are your angles like? Obviously you can't go straight on like this. And yes, I know my thumb is kicking out. This is mostly for demonstration purposes. But when you're palming and you have gaps between your fingers, you can't hold it like this. But you can hold your hand and bevel it to create that blind effect. But another thing to keep in mind is when you're normally holding something, are you keeping your hand at a weird position? So if I'm palming, I'm not keeping my hand up in like, I'm not doing this. If I'm doing a walk around, I palm off, my hand's coming down to my side, and I'm holding that card on my side and pressing it against my leg, concealing it there and holding it in place until I need to move my hand back away. If I'm at a table like this, I've always naturally just crossed my hands. That's just how I've been. So that card's coming into rest. and not having to really worry about too much. Or even moving it up to lean into my audience while they're doing something and talking to them. So think of the different ways you can do things. Also, if you're really uncomfortable with a top palm, just learn learn to cop a card out. And again, copying a card, I could probably palm a card that way. But copying a card, it's all going to be about covering the edge or bringing it lower into palm and just not flashing your hand up like this because you're staying with your hand cupped in. So a couple ideas with palm, but always move. For me, it's always been having the ability to move that card into another position. It's the same with coins. With coins, finger palm is taught to hold it between your ring finger and your middle finger in most books and in most videos. I won't say in all because people are finally, over the last 10, 15 years saying, no, that's not really right. So you can hold it like this, but if I'm doing a finger palm, I'm holding it with just my ring finger. So that leaves these fingers to be a little bit more free. But I'm also not going to keep a coin in any position. So if I go into a classic palm, it's there for what I need it for that reason for having my fingers available. I'm going to drop it down into a fingertip rest. From there, I might push it into a thumb clip, into a finger palm, whatever I need it to be in, to be able to use my hands. Because you don't want to just sit there and have a coin in a classic palm the whole time and just doing a whole bunch of stuff. It starts to look weird, it starts to bring attention, but if you do classic, come down to the table, David Roth was really big on this, you come down to the table and drop it in the fingertip rest. You can scooch it back into a finger palm and do other things. And that takes people off of the trail of your concealment, so you're not just in this weird claw all the time in this weird restricted mobility. Because obviously, classic palm, I can move my fingers. And that's like if I want to take a coin and, do whatever, pick something up and put it in my hand with a coin, classic palm, I can do that. If I want to pick something up off the table like this card, I can have that coin in fingertip rest and pick up that coin or pick up that card and do something with it. So just some things to think about when you're practicing with anything with cards or coins. Just practice getting it from one holdout or one concealment to the next and see how that feels, because you might find something that works really, really well for you, where you're like, okay, I'm in classic palm position and now I need to get to whatever. Going back to the cards where I talk about you going to the side, it's going to be a lot easier to conceal that card when you drop that hand to your side and kind of relax a little bit than it is if you have your hands up this just weird, awkward spot. Like you can motion with your hands with the card palmed, but you have to make sure like both hands are safe. If this hand's like this and this hand's stiff, it's going to look weird. Another thing with palm, real quick with cards, that I'm a big fan of, I know some people aren't, is, and it might work better for me because I don't have the windows, is I love, if I'm doing like card pocket, palm that card off and hand the deck out with my dirty hand. Because no one's thinking that a magician is dumb enough to hand out cards or hand an object out with their dirty hand if they're concealing something. And that's how I've always done it. I know I've seen big name magicians do it, but I've had people like on a local level question me, why would you do that? You're going to get caught. And I have never once been caught handing out something with my dirty hand. It seems to relieve a lot of the tension, and it's a good way of putting yourself in a position that may make you uncomfortable, like you're going to get caught, with very minimum chance of getting caught. Now, it might, again, if you have Windows, it might not work in your fingers. But for those that don't, definitely, like, I suggest trying to hand out anything with your dirty hand and see how it gets by. But anyways, a little bit of ramble, but that's kind of my tips on palming. Hopefully you got something from the vomiting of information that I just dropped out there. I'm a big fan of palming. I don't think people palm cards enough today, just because I think a lot of people are very scared of it. So take those tips for what you will. If you have any tips that you want to add, please add them below in the comments and we can have a discussion. And let me know if you found this video helpful at all. Like I said, I know palming is a trigger point for some people where they don't feel comfortable with it for whatever reason. And I think it's such a useful tool in Magic that you just have to do it. You have to do it. You have to get comfortable with it. You've got to learn. And yeah. So anyways, we'll catch you. Thank you for watching this video. We'll catch you in the next one. And peace.